First of all, let me just make it clear as to why this is biased. I'm friends with the dev on Discord, Madison Bake, a great guy by the way, and have playtested various builds of the game over time. But hey, if you don't want to take my word for it, just go and try out the game. Act 1 has been released for free on itch. Give it a try. I will just say this, I wouldn't have spent nearly as much time on this game as I have if it wasn't this much fun. So let's start with what Magenta Horizon is. It's a fast-paced hack and slash 2D platformer Souls-like. Wait, it's not a Souls-like. It's actually inspired by Devil May Cry games. You play as Gretel, a reaper who was freed from a sarcophagus by Archibald and now has taken up the goal to guide Archibald to the Nest Sanctuary where she was exiled from long ago. At the current point of the game, the best part is definitely the combat. The actual amount of attack options you have in this game are very high, and mixed with the movement options and the scoring system make for combat with a pretty high skill ceiling. In terms of just melee attacks, you have the options of light attack, heavy attack, or you could damage the enemies by hooking and moving through them. Light attacks and heavy attacks have different variations depending on if you are in the air while you attack, direction of your strike. There are moves like the downward V strike which you can do by holding down and pressing heavy attack at the same time. And to top it off, you get to mix this up with 4 different ranged attacks as well. Each of these attacks comes with their own pros and cons. The combat is brought together by the enemy variety. There are 15 enemies in this game. All of them have different attacks and require different strategies to beat efficiently. There are enemies which burrow underground, use shields to protect themselves. There are flying enemies, slower enemies with telegraphed attacks, fast enemies that will rush you. The arena gets really chaotic. Combat is a great juggle of movement and countering the different enemies while dealing damage to them. It's a rush to weave between the often dozen or more enemies on screen, poking through them, jumping and down slashing. Some areas even have these spikes or bomb plants you can use to deal damage to enemies. Even the healing system moves you to be aggressive. While you can always heal at these checkpoints, and by always I mean once per checkpoint, the main way you heal is by hitting enemies with which you can increase this bar. And when this bar fills, you can use a healing spell thing on the enemies. And when you hit those enemies, you get health back in these orbs. Stronger enemies give these large orbs, whereas smaller enemies give these tiny ones. To heal the most, you need to deal a lot of damage in a short time. It's a great system. The combat in this game is addicting, with the scoring system where every time I play I feel like I could do this stage just a bit better. And I didn't even get to the boss fights. They are great. The bosses look imposing and have a unique moveset. Plus, they also provide a very fair challenge for the player. Each of these stages ends with a boss fight that matches the theme of that particular area, serving as a grand last challenge for the player before they leave that part. But I won't spoil the bosses of Act 1 release here. The other part of the gameplay are the platforming sections. I will be honest, I suck at them and it might just be because of that, but I don't find these parts enjoyable at all. They are pretty short overall and relatively simple compared to the combat section, but every time I see a section where there is platforming, I become kinda frustrated. These parts just don't feel smooth to me. But the overall package of the gameplay is great. Speaking of great, the art style is pretty unique. It's hard to stand out among the thousands of 2D action games, but this game does. The art style does a fantastic job of mixing good visuals while not getting in the way of the gameplay. In how it's clear what the threats are and what the enemies are while still remaining vibrant and colorful. Each area also has different color palettes, like the first area with the greenish colors and the bright floral colors, or the area with the train, where the enemies and places are just different varieties of the color purple, which is to be expected for a game called Magenta Horizon. The enemies also look excellent, and their expressive, well done animation makes them feel alive. With the exception of the dolphin wraith, which feels kinda weird. All the enemies I love how they move around and attack. It's like they're grooving to the music. Speaking of which, I love the music in this game. It's nice, goes really well with the stages, and is very catchy. The theme in the train level is especially amazing. Sometimes I feel like I should replay that stage because of the music alone. Though sound design wise, I don't have much to say about it. It's alright. I do think there needs to be death sounds for the enemies. The lack of those is noticeable, or in some cases I only noticed after turning the music off. The only thing I haven't talked about yet is the story and writing. The story isn't done yet since the game is just in the first act, but the writing, even though it's pretty basic and not something that will blow you away, has some nice charm to it. Meaning the conversations are actually pretty nice to go through. So in conclusion, go play that game. It's a steal when the price is zero. It's a replayable fun game with a dev who likes boomer shooters. What's not to love about it?